Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. Is someone else ready to throw their sombrero into the ring for the governor's race in 2006? Plus, is Iran the next stop for the Bush administration in terms of where we attack next? On the rundown today, the mayor of Henderson, Jim Gibson, and Scott Bensing, chief of staff to Senator John Ensign. And on the Power Pundit panel today, Ernie, Adler, Chris Wicker, and Mary Lau. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Where do I want to go? Me? Denver.
Anchorage, Alaska.
Atlanta. Vancouver.
Chicago.
We can help you get where you need to be
Paris.
or want to be.
Yankee
Reno
Stadium.
Tahoe International
Way far.
Airport. Anytime, any place, anywhere.
Anywhere.
Minneapolis.
St. Paul.
Over 170 daily flights, nonstop service to
Washington,
19
D.C.
cities and connections everywhere else. Reno Tahoe International Airport. Dedicated to moving you.
Jupiter.
If it's hot, it's here at the Pepper Mill. The Pepper Mill has over 500 of the hottest video theme slots. And with the $100,000 Winter Video Theme Slot Fest, there's no smarter time to play these winning machines. Win your share of the money with $2,000 random cash giveaways every Monday and $5,000 drawings every Friday. And new players can get up to $100 free play.
The slots that rock are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you winning?
When you need a new employee, how can you be sure who you're really hiring? A background investigation by Employer Links will uncover criminal records, verify the applicant's education, check their credit history and Social Security verification. An investigation will research professional licenses and driver's licenses and let you know why they're unemployed. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment. This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And we welcome to the program a man who was elected to the office of mayor of Henderson back in 1997 with over 50% of the vote. It's a pleasure to have you to the program, Mayor Jim Gibson. Thank you for being here, sir.
Happy to be here, Sam.
Now we're showing this on Thursday, but we're taping it the day before, and so you heard the governor's State of the State address. How do you think it affects the city of Henderson and the people of Nevada?
Well, I think that all of us have good reason to be concerned about the primary issues that the governor announced funding for and policy issues that are related to the way we live in each of the cities and the counties in the state. What I don't know is what the details are. I know there was a little more in the paper today about how some of those details work out, and in the coming days and weeks we'll be figuring that out. Okay, but there was nothing that stood out for you? You know, I don't think that I heard anything that has a direct and immediate impact upon our city. I guess that's how I'd answer your question, Sam. All right, well then let me move on. Jim Gibbons has announced basically to run for governor, Dina Titus, Richard Perkins, Kathy Augustine even. Is it time for you to throw your sombrero into the ring? No, it isn't. I'm running for re-election right now. I filed this morning. There are a few things that remain undone that I committed to do. I also have my day job at the Las Vegas Monorail Company, and we are fortunately back open, but there remain issues that need to be resolved before I can make long-term plans. So, no, this isn't the time for me. Okay, so you don't anticipate being in the race at all, period? No, I haven't determined what I'm going to do yet necessarily.
Okay. Let's talk about the monorail. I rode the monorail a couple of weeks ago. I had a great time. I was running a little bit slower because of all that rainfall down there. But are you pleased with what appears to be the apparent success of it as far as ridership?
We think that, no, the ridership is not where it needs to be eventually. But with the difficulties we had, we're about a year late, as you probably know. We should have been open in January of last year. We opened finally July 15th of 2004. And then we closed September 1st and didn't open again until the end of the year. And so we've got some ground to make up, but our system is operating well, and we're handling whatever the traffic demands are. So we're comfortable that we're going to be able now to focus on ridership and build it to where it should be.
How was it during the Consumer Electronics Show?
It's hectic. We have 9 trains in our system. Each train has 4 cars on it. And prior to the CES show, we had tested and approved the use of 7 trains at a time. But during CES, we were able to commission 2 additional trains, and so we were able to run at full strength during CES. And although the wait was 25 minutes, 27 minutes, I think I was told at times, that was a lot quicker than any other form of transportation. And I think that the show was very happy with the way that we were able to serve their transportation needs as a part of the total transportation program.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with you. A 27-minute wait during that convention was not a long time. Let's talk about Nevada State College. Does it drive you crazy when you hear the criticisms of the college?
It does. I think that the Nevada State College is an essential piece to the higher education puzzle in this state. I think that it is demonstrated already that it can make a difference. They have 1,200 students out there this year. It will continue to grow, and the projections are that it'll grow very, very rapidly.
Are you surprised that there's not been more donations from the public-private? From private enterprise rather than from the state government at this point?
Well, I'm disappointed that there haven't been. I guess I'm a little surprised. We imagined that there would be some competition, if you will, for the dollars in higher education. I don't think that we imagined that it would be as difficult as it has been to raise the money. I personally have spent months and years talking to people to encourage them to make contributions to the State College. I think with the leadership of Jim Rogers and others in the community who have stepped up, that is going to give us the impetus we need to get over the top. And I have meetings set up this week where I will be meeting with potential donors. I'm hopeful that we can raise the money we need to raise.
Thank you, Mayor Gibson. We appreciate you being on the show, and we look forward to you coming back very soon. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this brief timeout.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Sunbelt Communication.
Siegfried and Roy presents Darren Romeo.
There's magic in his voice, and there's music in his magic.
Brilliant young talent like this is very rare.
The music of the night.
I'm Darren Romeo.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. Wow. Fantastic.
Dinner and show package from $27.95. Call the Eldorado at 786-5700.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
It's America's largest historical district, and it's fun for the entire family. Virginia City is where the West comes alive every day, from train rides to gunslingers. Your gang can explore mines and interesting museums, visit historic saloons, and do some great shopping. Virginia City is the ultimate in family entertainment, and it's very affordable. Come up and stay overnight in our hotels, motels, and RV park. Virginia City, the Wild West at its best.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And we welcome to the program Scott Bensing, Chief of Staff to Senator John Ensign. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Sam.
Story came out over the last couple of days from Seymour Hersh in the latest edition of The New Yorker, talking about the fact that he has found that we are now actively working on finding sites in Iran that we could take out if necessary. It seems like the neocons in the administration are just pushing this agenda. How does Senator Ensign feel about this? And, could we afford to do something like that?
Well, whether or not we could afford it, I think is premature. I don't know what substantiation he has. It's a New Yorker report.
He's a very well-established reporter, going back to the Vietnam War.
There are obviously some concerns about nuclear proliferation in Iran, but when we look at where Iraq was before the decision was made to go in and disarm and alter that country, Iran is nowhere close there. It's certainly something we ought to be keeping a close eye on, but I don't think the progression of going in and taking out targets is something that is under active consideration. It's certainly not something that the senator has been briefed on as a member of the Armed Services Committee.
Mr. Hersh actually intimated that it could happen as early as this summer.
But it's certainly not something I could speak to because I have no knowledge of it.
Yeah, pretty scary subject.
It is.
The governor brought up in his State of the State speech the possibility of putting together relatively inexpensive land in southern Nevada that low-income folks could then purchase to put houses on. Senator Ensign's also been involved in this to a degree, I understand.
We have. In fact, Senator Ensign, with Senator Reed's help and initially with Senator Bryan's help, put together a program by which we auction land off in it's the Clark County Lands Bill in Las Vegas Valley. The land's auctioned off. A portion of it goes to the State Education Fund. A portion of it goes to helping retrieve more water out of Lake Mead, and the rest goes to buy environmentally sensitive land. Predominantly in the Las Vegas Valley, which is, to date, I think there's been over $1 billion in sales. Just last year, we had over $250 million spent on parks and trails in Clark County. So, along with accommodating low-income housing, it's model legislation for the West. It's something we'd like to see done and have done in Lincoln County. Would like to see done in Washoe County.
I understand Congressman Gibbons would also like to see a higher percentage of that money going to education, like around 35%. Would Senator Ensign support that?
When we negotiated the original bill, we wanted to see more of it too. At the time, we got what we were battling the administration, and we had to come up with a compromise. Obviously, it's not something Republicans do alone. We got a lot of help from both Senator Bryan and Senator Reed to make it happen. So that was the compromise we came up with. I don't know that it's possible to move more of that money into education.
Samuel Bodman, now the new Energy Secretary, sounds like the new guy, same as the old guy. Still pushing ahead with Yucca, but not getting as much funding this year and looking at delays. Is our process working for us?
Our process, in my opinion, is most definitely working. They will push it back a year. I think even with that announcement, they still have to come to grips with one of the fundamental problems, and that is what the radiation standards will be for Yucca Mountain. The court has thrown out their 10,000 years, and they've got to figure out how to change it. They could try to change it legislatively, but I don't think Senator Ensign and Senator Reed let that happen.
Has Sam Bodman met yet with Senator Ensign?
They sat down 3 weeks ago, I believe, and I'm not sure what we look for in a Secretary of Energy in terms of Yucca Mountain is someone who doesn't come in with a preconceived notion or bias. And I think the secretary, who I think will be confirmed next week, does not bring that to the table. He is a Treasury official right now. He's got a scientific background, but he's not a nuclear industry person. He's not someone, former senator, who's pushed the legislation. He doesn't have a dog in the fight. He will be in charge of it for sure, but he doesn't bring an inherent bias to the table.
Christy Todd Whitman, the former governor of New Jersey, has just come out with a new book called "It's My Party Too," and she has concerns that the Republican Party is moving too far to the right. Your thoughts?
Well, if you watch the Republican National Convention and the Democratic Convention, you can certainly see with speakers like Rudy Giuliani and Arnold Schwarzenegger, we have certainly kind of opened up the tent, and we brought in all kinds of views. We have pro-life, pro-choice views, things that the Democrats don't seem to invite into their party. I haven't read the book. I'm sure it's very insightful and well written, but I don't think that's indicative of the current Republican Party.
I'm going to make 2 points.
Please do.
One was that if you watch the convention not in the prime time, but in the daytime on the cable news and on C-SPAN, you saw a lot of people who are much further to the right. And the Democrats, since the election, have been looking at all kinds of things to be more inclusive. So
I'm sure they are. They need to.
Both parties are trying.
Indeed.
Scott Bensing, always a pleasure. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Sam.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers with the Pundits after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Enjoy daily lunch specials in the Peppermills Coffee Shop and Oceano, plus early bird specials at the Steakhouse in Romanza. It's Reno's best value.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Yogi Berra used to say, when you come to a fork in the road, take it.
That sounds like something you'd say, Bob. Have you ever done that?
Possibly. We make important decisions every day.
Yeah, choices on the road give us both direction.
Directions 2005 takes place Friday, February 4th at the Reno Hilton. Leaders from across the nation and around the region share their insights during Northern Nevada's largest business forecasting event. Chart the road for tomorrow at Directions 2005. For tickets, call 337-3044.
Where do I want to go?
Me?
Denver. Anchorage, Alaska.
Atlanta. Vancouver.
Chicago.
We can help you get where you need to be or want to be. Reno Tahoe International Airport. Anytime, any place, anywhere.
Anywhere. Minneapolis.
St. Paul.
Over 170 daily flights, non-stop service to 19 cities and connections everywhere else. Reno Tahoe International Airport. Dedicated to moving you.
Jupiter.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by a great Power Pundit panel. As always, Chris Wicker, chairman of the Washoe County Democratic Party, Mary Lau, executive director of the Retail Association of Nevada, one of our proud sponsors, and Ernie Adler, former state senator. Welcome to all of you. Okay, Chris, let's talk about the State of the State address and your thoughts on it. What did you like? What didn't you like?
Yeah, I've always thought that Governor Gwynn did a reasonably good job as governor, and what I didn't care for is I think we need to be more careful about how we allocate the surplus funds. I'd like to see the surplus funds, more of it go to the rainy day fund. I'd like to see more of it go to fund the Millennium Scholarships rather than take out financing. And I think also, property tax caps are a big issue here, and I think Governor Gwynn is kind of dodging the hard issue as to how are we going to protect people from these extreme rises in property taxes, and that was the big hole in his speech.
Well, he defended that yesterday by saying that, in putting together the budget, that was a giant task in itself, and that it should be up to the legislature. There's already 14 bills, requests in the legislature, and the legislators should decide. Mary?
Elizabeth, it is the big one, because we're close to agreeing here.
Oh, my Lord.
My CPA told me one time you cannot spend yourself into prosperity, and I'm a little bit concerned about how much money has been allocated. Yeah, there's some programs that are needed and stuff. The Millennium Scholarship, that's an interesting quandary, because we're going to have to change the standards on that, or our universities aren't able to absorb what's happening there. Plus, you're bonding that. and obligating the state instead of carrying through with the money. And I would like to see more money in the rainy day fund because there's no such thing as a surplus. We had larger taxes than we needed.
Okay, but he wants to see $200 million in the rainy day fund.
Well, there's already 100 and something. I think there's only an additional 70 or 80 contained within the budget to do that.
What would you like to see?
Well, I'm not sure statutorily how much you can do. I know 5% has to go in at the end. You have to hold a rebate and stuff like that. But there's fixes that are needed in the taxes that were passed. There's some taxes that weren't needed at all and should go away.
And the governor did say, we asked him that question
Absolutely.
Specifically, and he said that those are part of his plan.
They're part of the plan, but I have never seen a legislature cut a governor's budget more than 2 to 3%. And then all of a sudden you've got the legislature's wants and desires. So there's going to be more money spent than what was needed to be spent. And I think some of the programs need to be looked at and changed, and yes, you do have social spending that's needed. Some of the stuff on education, it's a good idea, but he can't do it because of the union contract. So what are you going to do there? You can't take this performance pay stuff, and you can't do certain things because of contracts, unless you're going to get union buy-in.
It was really good to see that he was interjecting such a large sum of money into mental health, because that's such a huge issue and seems to always get the short end of the stick. But I think the governor made it a priority, and so that's good.
Well, one thing that bothered me is I looked at my business tax and it went up about $2,500 a year. Then he's taking that money and he's giving it to people who just bought an RV and a boat as a rebate. And I think that there's a disconnect there. I mean, the rebates are really not going to the people who paid the money that increased the revenue. And so what I would like to see is, I agree with Chris. Pay down the Millennium Scholarship, put money in reserve. That's acceptable to me. But don't take my tax money and not give me a rebate and give it to somebody out here who didn't pay the money in the first place.
It's very interesting because the response of people in the political world like yourselves have been, and let's not give it back, but I've had an awful lot of response from the public saying, yeah, we really could use that money. That would be a big deal to us. We'd like to see some of that money come back.
But shouldn't it go back to the people who originally paid it?
So where would you send it?
Well, the people who paid that tax, send them back a little bit of the money.
So it would be sales tax and gaming revenue.
But the most of the money, I believe, a lot of the surplus came from new taxes.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, there was new tax structure and stuff, plus the growth in the state. There's an argument there that says we didn't even need a tax increase. And we've been hearing the word structural deficit for so long. Well, part of the structural deficit is overspending. So when do we get our spending in line, and when do we plan for the future and stuff? I don't know if you'll get away with rebating, because there's school of thought that says businesses don't pay taxes. Now, you're an individual. Every dime that comes into your business is part of your family's income and stuff.
That's correct.
Well, I would think the taxpayers would appreciate the idea of having a sufficient rainy day fund, and instead of financing Millennium Scholarships for 30 years, if we have the money to fund the Millennium Scholarships, why don't we do that? To me, that seems like almost a no-brainer, and I think many taxpayers would approve of not wasting money on spending, but being prudent about it.
I agree with that, too.
Well, and there's the other side of, like I alluded to earlier, the Millennium Scholarships, while on the surface a very, very good thing, but now we've got students that are coming into the university system at a rate that they've never had before. So that's also going to be kind of a quandary that we're going to get into.
Well, I guess the governor's concern was that if he didn't do some kind of rebate, that there would be a revolution in the state, that we would end up with ballot questions coming up that would tie the hands of the
I
legislature.
don't think that this rebate's going to stop that, because the main concern that I'm hearing from the public is property tax.
So if you fix property tax, maybe that forestalls any kind of taxpayers' revolt. And I think for the majority of people, if you're wise and smart the way you spend the taxpayers' money, I think they'll be generally satisfied.
Well, it was interesting yesterday. The Democrats had their rebuttal to the governor's speech, or their suggestions, I should say, to what the governor should be doing or what the legislature should be doing, and a lot of it showed more increased spending. Are we also looking at the beginning of the 2006 gubernatorial race with Richard Perkins and Senator Dina Titus both going to be in that race? Is there going to be a concern at this session that a lot of it's going to be goaded by that?
I'm concerned about that.
Of course it is. That's politics. Every floor speech will be a campaign speech. All the decisions will be. That's part of posturing for the next office. You're going to see posturing for those that want to be speaker the next time, posturing for those who want to move up. You know, you cannot spend yourself into prosperity. I'll say it again.
But they're different houses, and I think I don't see it as a problem. I see there will be efforts to become more prominent, I think. I mean, that's just a natural thing, but I don't see it's going to be a problem, and I don't see it's going to be harmful in any way. And I think part of it is they're in different houses of the legislature, so I think that'll make a difference too.
Gives them more floor speech time.
But
yeah, okay.
But I hope they won't just have proposals just to set themselves up for the next race. I hope they will do what's best for the state. And I do agree with Chris. I think we do have there's spending, and then there's money that provides a future for the state, and a lot of that spending has to go into education and things like mental health and so forth, which have been shortchanged over the years.
Yeah, and how does spending answer the question that we've heard, the battle cry on structural deficit? Where do you fix that? More taxes later, or do you get ready to fix that now and keep spending down?
Well, and I think Speaker Perkins and Senator Titus are good people, and I think they may have different ideas, but I think it's going to be for the good of the state. It's not just going to be pure politics.
Are we going to be done in 120 days?
Well, if Mr. Speaker wants to show that he can manage the state, I think he's going to want to show he can manage the session.
I think you should be able to.
Okay.
Anytime you have a surplus, you have a better chance of finishing in 120 days.
Good point. We'll be back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
For a hole in your roof or a whole new roof, Ken Dillon, owner of Van Dyne Roofing, can get it fixed with his eyes closed.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
It's the next best thing to having your own wine cellar. Come to the Bonanza Casino for a first in fine dining, reasonably priced wines. When you dine at Cactus Creek Southwestern Steakhouse, you can also enjoy a fine bottle of wine at just about the same price you'd pay at the Vineyard, Silver Oak, Robert Mondavi, Rombauer, Cakebread, Jordan, and Duckhorn, just to name a few. And at the lowest prices of any restaurant or casino in Northern Nevada. And remember, all fine wines are not in wine cellars. They're in the Cactus Creek at the Bonanza Casino, where locals come to play.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
If you live in Northern Nevada, you can catch all 4 Nevada Newsmakers on Sunday morning starting at 9 o'clock on KOH News Talk 780. Coming up next week, Senator Dina Titus, Bob Seale, and Don Gibbons. We'll see you then.